Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's April 24th, 2016, and this week we're going to dedicate the guitar blog to covering the guitar style of Prince. Now, as all of you probably are well aware, Prince died this past week. He was 57 years old. He unfortunately passed away on April 21st. And you know, over all the years that I was playing in top 40 bands, I often had the song Purple Rain as part of the set lists in those groups. And you know, when you look at the songs like Purple Rain, or many of his other tunes, he definitely had a very smooth and connected guitar playing style, and you know, he favored the blues rock sound, of course, and he was comfortable with that. But he was also really comfortable with R&B and funk, and you know, injecting the blues and with a rock flavor, as well as that blend of other styles, including you know, jazz even, to his music. So you know, this idea of being comfortable with all these different kinds of styles was what probably made him stand out as an artist. And you know, he had that flair for really putting a lot of emotion into his lines when he played guitar as well. You know, another area too is harmonically, you know, how he wrote around really interesting backing progressions, and you really see that in the song Purple Rain. So in this video, I want to look at the harmony for Purple Rain and go run that down a little bit with you. And I also want to look at a few of his licks, you know, so you can get a little bit of idea how he played lead. You know, Prince wrote progressions that were really interesting, and they offered an ability to play some very cool melodies and improvise in different, very unique ways around those sounds. So what we're going to do is zoom in on the neck, run through some ideas on the chord changes for Purple Rain, and then we're going to take a look at some of the guitar licks that Prince used as well. So let's not waste any more time and get right to it. Well, let's get started with a look at how Prince would generally like to compose chord progressions, and in particular his approach to harmony. But first I should mention up front that while he certainly played with a lot of standard harmonies and even some common blues and funk ideas, he did have a very unique way of embellishing his chords that could allow for really lush sounding harmony. And when you combine that with the fact that he seemed to take a lot of time in the studio to dial in the exact kind of effects that he really felt that he wanted on his recordings, you know, you combine those two things and you know, you're looking at a really great sound when you finish your recording. And if you can take that live to the stage like he was able to, and it just makes for a great show as well. So in looking at a cross-section of the chord changes for Purple Rain, we're going to see both, you know, the idea of how the direction of the chord embellishments really fill up the space, but even more than that, I did dial up what I thought was as close as I could get to the Purple Rain sound, which is that nice, lush kind of phaser sound through the mix. And I got that going in my Zoom pedal, and I'm just going to run these chords down for you, give you a chance to hear how this progression sounds. Kind of one of those progressions, you know, you could really lay it down and jam on it for a long time. It's a very cool sounding mix of chords. Now, while this progression itself is just a common B-flat major key harmony, Prince's use of the add 2 chords and the suspended chords, as well as there's a minor 11th extended chord in there, really kind of all comes together to make a very noticeable impact on the sound of the overall harmony here. So it's much more than just you know, your standard chords that you find in B-flat major. So let's go ahead and take a few moments out here. I want to review the chord changes by taking a closer look at all these shapes. So starting with the first chord there, see if I can bypass my pedal here for a second. Still got the sound in there. Okay, and something is going wrong. It's because I didn't hold it down. All right, so basically what we're going to look at first is the B flat suspended second chord. We've got a chord shape where we're flattening down the index finger, taking care of all those first position fretted notes there, and then we're bringing in these two fingers here, the ring and the small fingers, and we're getting that nice ringing sound. Now it's kind of a challenging bar chord down in that end of the neck, so you really got to flatten your index finger, make sure that you're grabbing both the fifth string as well as those upper strings as well. First and second strings, all at first fret, and then you're adding those third fret tones off of the fifth, the fourth and third strings. So that's the B flat suspended second. That's the first chord in the progression. The next chord, this is actually fairly common jazz chord. It's G minor 11, the minor 11 voicing. It's a very cool chord. And what's happening there is we've got our root, we've got our flat 7, and then here we've got our minor third, but up top we've got a perfect fourth interval happening, and because we do have the flat 7 involved in there, we can call that a minor 11 chord. Not that challenging of a fingering. We've got middle finger in the bass, ring finger and small finger on the fourth and third strings. Index finger takes that higher C note there at the first fret of second string. Nice sound on that one. The next chord coming up in the next measure is going to be an F major. I'm playing it with my thumb in the bass, so I've got my thumb hooked over to grab that low bass note at first fret, sixth string. Ring finger, middle, and index are taking care of fourth, third, and second strings there. And I'm also barring to catch the top string as well. So the high F at first fret, first string is actually a part of that chord also. And then just at the end of the progression there, what I'm doing is I'm adding in a short arpeggiated idea, and that's just going to add in the fifth and the add 2 tone, and then there's just the major third coming in there on third string, second fret. So it's just a small shape, comes in like that, middle finger, small finger, index finger up on the third string. I'm just using it as a short arpeggiated idea to take me into the last chord, which is another suspended second. That's pretty much the same voicing that we were using when we started the progression off. It's just up in sixth position now, E flat suspended second. So those are all the chord changes from the key of B flat major that make up this progression. As you can tell, they're very interesting, very unique sounding chords. So I hope you have some fun with that. I mean, it's a good introduction to the way that Prince liked to embellish chord ideas. But we're going to take a short break, come back in a moment, and I'm going to get started on looking at some of his soloing techniques. Well, next, let's take a quick look at some of Prince's lead playing. All you have to do is listen to one of his solos to know that he had a great feel for the guitar, and he was a really natural musician with respect to the sense of phrasing that he had when he improvised. And even though Prince may not have ventured too far away from the pentatonic scales, it's more important to look closely at what he did with the pentatonics, and also, you know, how to gain an understanding for his sense of manipulating the duration of the overall sense of time when he played solos. I should also mention that he had a great feel for tuning in the right kind of guitar sounds, and I decided to mess around with the zoom pedal here a little bit and come up with what I think is kind of an interesting sound, very close to what his sound would have been. I have a 2-bar phrase here from one of his solos that demonstrates his feel for bending and timing and in the phrases, and I just want to jam this thing out for you, give you a good idea how this thing sounds. So what's happening, we've got that 2-beat bend, and then we release it, and then we come up to the 2 bends on the 18th there, bring it down, tag a 15th, and then go through the pentatonic. So it's really just the pentatonic scale up at B flat major pentatonic. And we're just going through that in a very unique way rhythmically. It's the rush, you know, at the end of that phrase, there's a real rush through those tones and how we're dealing with some 32nd notes, 16th note triplets, and of course there's the bending aspect too and the sustain aspect. So, you know, take that lick, mess around with it, try and come up with some of your own variations on it as well. It's a very cool sound, and the phrasing is really unique. But we're going to take a short break, come back in a moment, and I want to run through one more guitar lick with you. So the feel across that B-flat major pentatonic run is very unique. It's definitely not what your typical rock or blues player would very likely commit to playing. Instead, Prince seemed to take his cue for how he time phrases more from a combination of, soul, funk, R&B, jazz, and blues perspectives with, obviously a little bit of rock flavor in there, kind of that Hendrix direction. Now, in my final guitar lick, I've got a phrase here that really shows how uniquely Prince would break up the sense of time. So first of all, let me play through this idea for you. It goes like this. So it's a really interesting sounding lick. Now what's going on here is he starts off with a bend that's at the 18th fret of the first string, and it bends out, releases into the natural sound of 18th fret, and pulls off into 15th fret. Then he does a couple of tones on the 15th fret of second and third string. Comes into the fourth string with a pull-off 17, 15, and then he comes into the 15th fret of the fifth string, with the resolution being the sort of two-note double stop chord there. Final idea is there's a hammer-on quickly into 17th fret, and then he starts again with that bend on the second measure. Then he goes over into the second string. He plays 15, 17, jumps down, plays on the fourth string 15, 17. Goes over to the fifth string, goes in reverse 17, 15 this time. So then he has a hammer-on into 17, another hammer-on 15, 17. Plays a couple of 15th fret bar chords there and the double stops. Finishes off on the 17th fret. So, both measures contain some really interesting phrasing. There is a lot of, hammer-on, pull-off ideas. Bending is really predominant, obviously, in the first beats there. And, of course, there's this sense of timing again. They're really pushing on the subdivisions and the 32nd notes on this one. It's a really cool-sounding phrase, So I hope you have fun with that one too. All these ideas, if you mix them around, try and blend them into your own style of playing, goof around with them, change them up a bit and all that, I think you're going to get a couple of really different perspectives going on in your playing when the next time that you decide to take a solo using some pentatonic ideas. Well, it goes without saying that Prince was a really solid musician. He was a great songwriter, great music business person, and to me, most importantly, he was someone who really believed in the rights of the musician, and they should have a lot more say, especially in a legal stance with their record companies. Back when Purple Rain hit the airwaves, that would have been around, I guess, 1984, if I remember correctly, he really came on the scene and instantly pretty much cemented himself as a real world-class recording artist and performer as well. But, he maintained through his career that the musician was the ultimate creator and needed a lot more say in the music business and a lot more control, which is why he had so many problems over the years with the various record labels that he was involved with. But in the end, his music reached us, and he'll always be remembered as not only a guitarist and singer, and I guess a bit of a style icon as well, but as one of the most creative and unique musicians and band leaders that we've had in decades. Anyway, that's about all the time that I have for today. As always, I want to say thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If at all possible, please consider a small donation to help out what's going on here with this guitar lessons project I got on YouTube. Every little bit helps, and I want to say huge thanks to those who have donated. It really is helpful around the studio when we get a couple of dollars in, and just helps pay for some of the supplies around the office and so forth. Otherwise, have yourself a great week, and I will catch up with you next time. Bye for now. My Blues Guitar Styles ebook is a masterclass course covering a huge amount of information with 8, 12, and 16 bar blues progressions, classic blues styles, plus all the important chord patterns. There's over 50 pages of information, including sections on blues techniques like slide, alternate tuning, and bending. This ebook has everything the guitar player needs for a solid foundation in blues guitar, including 27 MP3 audio tracks for easy at-home study. Blues Guitar Styles is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com. using the major scale modes is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com.